Welcome back to another episode of Paranormal the New Normal. I'm your host, as always, Jeremy, here trying to make the world seem a little more normal. Usually not something we accomplish on this show, ever, in 200 plus episodes, but tonight, maybe tonight we'll make it a little more normal. I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but I have a good feeling for tonight. Maybe. We'll get into that in a bit. But first things first, my guest tonight, because you know I always bring a guest to these things. My guest is Jayne Sanders, a master scientific hand analyst. And I just totally blew that. See, I told you before the show started that I was gonna overthink it now.
I jinxed it. I jinxed it.
Analyst. I'm sorry, hand analyst, folks. Oh God, it's one of those days. But welcome, Jayne. How are you doing tonight?
Thank you. I'm good. I'm good, Jeremy. Happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you as always, because this is a topic I haven't really. Well, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't touched it at all. So I'm happy to finally get to touch it because we've all heard people. We've all had those people who will do hand readings, and who and who talk about. We've heard people talk about like how hands can tell the future, how hands can tell us about somebody's personality, about their soul. There's so many different studies that relate to the hand that I would say ridiculous, but it's not really ridiculous because it makes sense in a way. But why am I blabbering on about this when we have an expert here? Exactly. Shut up, Jeremy. So, the first question I ask everybody in this show, Jayne, and I mean, it's usually a little different question, but I'll edit it for you. What got you into, I'm going to call it a spiritual realm for this because I can't think of another way to put it. I guess it's the scientific spiritual realm.
Yeah, there
Because,
you go.
yeah, I like that.
That's perfect. Yeah, what got me into it? Well, I had 3 careers prior to this, and I would always hit a point after a few years of just like, meh, being bored and unfulfilled.
Mhm.
And career coaches didn't help me, and I read all the books, and I really believed everybody has an innate purpose. And my problem was I didn't know what mine was. So I started a search for that, Googled, and ran across a teleseminar, and the headline read, "Discover Your Innate Life Purpose." Man, I couldn't click on that sucker fast enough. And first words I saw were hand analysis, and my mind, like most people, immediately went to palm reading. And I thought, that's fun. There's good palm readers, but that's not going to help me with what I need. And then I saw the word scientific. So I just held on to that and listened to the teleseminar, and it made sense, Jeremy. So I really wanted my purpose. I got it done. And whoa, just explained my life. It was like, oh, no wonder that didn't work, but that did. And no wonder I liked that, but I didn't like that. And I could see the reason for all the big decisions I had made. And, so I just knew if I took action on the information, that I would find my way to the work that would fulfill my purpose. And that's exactly what happened. So here I am, because it just lit me up so much. And I thought, gosh, if I got so lit up and inspired before I even knew specifically what to do for work that would fulfill my purpose, I want to help people feel like that. So I started studying it.
I like that. I really do. We are all about on this show about faith. Not faith. I'm sorry, about fate. We're all about fate on this show. Finding one's true purpose. It's my personal belief everybody is fated to do a certain task in life, a certain job. May not always be a paying job, but everybody's fated to do something in life that's going to make a difference in the world. Maybe
Well,
small, maybe
yes.
big.
And with this work, the purpose that you get is not a job description. It's the concept behind your ideal work. And I believe everybody does have options that will fulfill your purpose, that will bring you that deeper joy and fulfillment that everybody wants. And I also believe purpose work evolves. It morphs and changes as we grow and as we change and as the world changes. So you don't have to get one job and stick with it.
Exactly. I've been told, and I personally believe that podcast is my fate. It was my fate to start this particular podcast. I'm on others, but this particular one was my fated podcast that I had to start because I'm meant to spread messages, as I've been
Mhm.
told. I'm meant to spread people's messages to the world, and what better way to do it than on a podcast? I mean, yes,
Yeah.
I make little to no money off this yet. Hopefully that comes someday. But I mean, little to no money. But I mean, it's a hobby. It's a love. I mean,
Mhm.
I devote so much time to this because I love it, and trust me, there's a lot of time behind doing these things,
I
but
bet.
I love it.
Yeah.
Editing's not fun, but I love. Well, actually, it kind of is. But I love this, and I love spreading people like you and the other 200 something guests I had in the shows messages out to the world and letting them tell about their lives because everybody should hear these stories because maybe it'll inspire them in some way or form.
Absolutely. No, you're doing a good thing.
Which, so I mean, yeah, I just wanted to clear on that because fate is a big thing here. So, I gotta ask though, and I want to say first things first. I love all the hands in the background on the wall. That's awesome.
Well, thank you. People give me those.
Oh, well, makes. I mean, it makes sense. It
Yeah.
seems like the gift you would give someone who does that for a
Right.
living,
Right.
but I mean, it's just I like it. So hands, though, I mean, what does a scientific hand analyst actually do? Like for those who don't know what they do, because I mean, they're obviously not palm readers, because that's a more of a along the lines of a palm readers are more of a carnival trick back in the day that along with psychics and mediums back in the 1800s,
Well, it's an
early
intuitive,
1900s.
it's totally
Yeah.
dependent on the intuitive level of the reader. Um, and there usually are predictions made with palm reading, and with hand analysis, there are no predictions. This is what's in your hands is past or current. Um, and what we do is read the hands. So it looks like palm reading, except I use handprints. And that way I've got clients in 12 different countries. So I don't have to have somebody right in front of me. But everything in your hands means something. The shape of your hands, where your fingers are set on the palm, all the lines in your hands, the fingerprints give us a lot of information. And I would say 75% of my clients have fingerprints in their palm and they don't even know it. That's fun to find those, and they always mean something. So, I mean, I studied it for 5 years. I'm as highly certified as possible.
Of course.
So everything means something. And I studied it long enough to know what everything means. So, for example, this will be cool. My guess would be somewhere in your hands, and it might show up in different ways. You would have a call to group communication, which is what you're doing with the podcast. You could even have a couple of markings that together mean public messenger or innovative public messenger, because this is a pretty innovative way that you approach this, paranormal, the new normal. That's so cool. So who knows? I don't know.
I mean, I mean, I believe it. I would. I mean, I've always been one to speak out in groups, even if it's not
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah. Well, I hope that
But
answered your question. I mean, it's very comprehensive and it's very deep and it's profound. And the founder who put this database together, because that's what it is, it's a learnable database, and anybody can learn it if they want to spend the time learning it. But now I lost my track of thought. Oh yeah, he spent 40 years putting this together and analyzed over 30,000 hands. I mean, the people, the number of people that are used for FDA drug trials is under 1,000.
oh god, yeah, yeah.
And they put that so much weight on that number and think this is 30,000 hands that this guy analyzed and looked at and compared data and, built this whole system and database. It's very reliable, so accurate that Forbes wrote about it.
I was gonna say because I saw that and I was
Yeah.
like I'm like that's kind of what that's one of the that's actually one of the reasons I really wanted to bring you on. So I'm like Forbes actually wrote about this. I'm like
Yeah.
that's impressive. That's impressive because I mean Forbes doesn't mess around and just write like, I guess puff pieces would be the best way to put it. Like they don't write that type of stuff. If Forbes is a very specific magazine meant for very specific
Yeah.
people, and if they're actually going to write about this, then it must be an actual scientific study and an actual business in a way, because Forbes is, of course, a business magazine.
Well,
So,
yes, and most people have never heard of scientific hand analysis, and I hadn't either until I ran across it. But I mean, I'm a master level, so there's not many masters, but just here in the Denver area, there's probably a half a dozen scientific hand analysts. They just don't market as what word am I looking for? I don't want to say aggressively, but as much as I do.
as broadly,
Thank you. Because the more people that I can do hand analysis for, the more lives I'm changing. Because it is life changing. And when I look at hands, people might be thinking, well, what are you looking for? I'm looking for your innate purpose. I am looking for the biggest tripping point in your life that impacts everything. Most people are like, yeah, but they aren't aware of how much that's impacting them 360. All the little tripping points that they can work on easily and take action on, their special talents that they have to help them fulfill whatever their purpose is, pretty much really deeply into who they are and why they're here and where to take action, what to strive for and what to move away from.
which I mean, you mentioned that the hands do show the past and the current, and well, quickly, thank you, Harley. Glad to have you watching. Good evening to you as well. But so do they? By reading the hands, can you delve into past lives at all, or no?
No, it's just this lifetime. And
Okay.
I mean, maybe palm readers can, but let me just say that the markings in the hands, whatever happened to make that marking, was either in the past or it's going on now. So that's what I meant by past or current. So when I look at a marking, I don't know when things happened and I don't know what the specific things are. I just know what I see in your hands and what it means. And, it could still be going on, whatever. But anyway, it's pretty cool. Oh, I know. I was going to tell you about the Forbes article. I
Yes.
met the reporter at a conference and
Oh.
sat next to her and told her about this. And she really wanted to check it out. And she said, I'm getting ready to do a collaboration with a very well-known internet marketing guru. And if you do one for each of us and tell me which of us should be doing which aspect of this project and what we need to watch out for and how we can best work together. And if it makes sense to me, I'll write an article. She wrote the article.
Oh, I mean, if there's science behind it, I never can doubt it, which is actually interesting to have something like this on my show because yes, I actually am in the top 3 science podcasts of all time according to Good Pods, which
You hot dog.
I can't explain that. When I first saw that I was ranked in the top 5 science podcasts of
Wow,
all time, I was actually number 1 for a few weeks, but I mean, it fluctuates. But
that's
I was
awesome.
amazed. I was amazed. I'm like, I'm considered a science podcast. Okay, I mean the paranormal is a science, the science of the unexplainable, but it's a science in a
That's
way. So I'm
great.
like, I get it, but it's just
Yeah.
which I mean
Well,
that's why this. Sorry,
sorry.
go ahead.
Um, and I apologize for interrupting. I just was going to say the science is that the lines in your hands mimic the neural pathways in your brain.
Well,
So
that makes sense. That makes
yeah,
sense.
and as you change, so may your hands. They may not, but it's so little that you probably wouldn't notice the changes. I would because I study it, but and which brings me to the point that, well, do you need more than one? I think if you're an adult, I would say if you're in your 30s, your hands are not going to change enough to make a difference to have a second hand analysis. Some might tell you, well, your whole life is in your hands, so it's going to take more than 1 hour to explain everything that's in your hands. I would agree with that. If they tell you everything that's in your hands, a lot of that unnecessary. So
Yeah.
I'm a one and done.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I'm sure our hands can tell us a lot. I mean, all I can say is, I mean, I'm 35 personally, so all I can say is that the only difference I've seen in mine in the last few years is they gotten a lot more lines in them. But I think that is just life experience and hard work.
Yeah.
But
Well, and that's
so I'm,
that's not the kind of lines that we look at anyway. I'm talking about the lines that are etched in your skin.
yeah, of course. And I mean, yeah, that's actually, I mean, that's interesting. I never wanted to go to I mean, I've had palm readings done here and
Yeah.
there when I was a kid and stuff, and
Right.
it's fun. It's fun. It's like going, it
Yeah.
was like when I was a kid. It's like when you were a kid, like they say, oh, let's go to a fortune teller at the local carnival. Okay. I
Yeah.
mean, I never put much stock in it back then. Now I am friends with countless mediums, countless
Hmm.
psychics, and I fully believe they can do what they say they can do. And
Oh yeah.
they've told me things about myself that I never knew. They've told me things that were going to happen that I didn't see coming, and they've told me about spirits around me that I didn't know were there, and I kind of 100% feel like they're right. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I 100% believe all that now. It's not just like it was when I was a kid in the 90s and oh, those are just sideshow attractions. My parents used to say, don't waste
Yeah.
your money. But now I fully believe that it can be true and does happen. And yes, like everything in the world, there's good and bad, but still,
Exactly.
the goods outweigh the bad, I think.
Oh, it's the real deal. It's the real
It
deal.
is. It is. I mean, I have another psychic medium and Reiki healer on tomorrow, which I always people I love talking to. But it's just
Yeah.
and there's plenty to talk to.
I bet.
ever since
Oh, I
ever
know,
since
there's so many and more because the world is changing and the world needs that type of insight and teachings and to open our minds. And I mean, I just really think spirit, the universe is doing the best it can to wake us up before we screw the planet, you know?
well, I mean, actually, okay, that's actually a really good segue because I mean, a lot of people say that back in 2012, the Mayan calendar thing,
Yeah, yeah.
it wasn't the apocalyptic calendar. It was a calendar counting down to the Age of Awakening beginning again. At
Mhm.
least that's what I've been told multiple times. And you know what? I believe it because it seems like in that last 15 years, there's been a lot of people awakening, realizing they have spiritual gifts that they never knew they had.
Yeah.
And the world is a much more, oh, God, the world accepts it more now. I mean, before in 2011, 2012, even, if I saw one medium posting on Facebook, it would have been an oddity. Now I see,
Mhm.
and yes, I'm friends with tons of them, but I mean, I see more and more mediums and psychics and Reiki energy healers and everything in the spiritual medium, basically, advertising on Facebook constantly. Tarot readers,
Oh,
everything, like
yeah.
they advertise constantly, and I don't blame them because you're trying to make a living, but you never would have seen that 15 years ago. It never would have happened. They would have been ridiculed off the internet.
Yeah. Well, I still get shit for what I do. People think it's
Mm,
woo woo and weird. And one women told me I did black magic and voodoo. And I just said, oh, we're done talking. I'm like, forget, I'm not even going to try to convince her. But I just wanted
I
to say, you're talking about how many they are. I'm in two different women's networking groups. And one of them, just in my chapter, there's a medical intuitive, a woman that does tarot, and she's very intuitive, tarot and astrology and human design. I don't know if you've talked to anybody about human design. That's a whole
I
deal.
have.
Yeah. And by the way, there's overlap with all these modalities. I mean, astrology is the science of the planets, numerology is the science of numbers, right? Hand analysis is the science of the hands. And somebody that goes, how could that's silly? How could you? I said, who do you think put that in there? Especially very religious people. I'm like, who do you think did that? Who
I
made you?
mean,
You know?
exactly. Exactly. I mean, I'm not. That's why I kind of laughed before when I said faith instead of fate because I am
Yeah.
not a.
I'm
I'm
not
agnostic.
religious either. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm agnostic. I believe there's something out there. I just don't want to put a name to it until I know more.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do
But,
too. I'm very spiritual.
but, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the best line for it is I'm spiritual.
Yeah.
I've tried meditations in the past. I'm not the best at meditating, but I, I mean, I worked with a Reiki master for 6, 7 months because she was on my show and she just sent something and she wanted to work with me. We made an
Cool.
exchange of goods,
Yeah.
and basically, I know Reiki can work. I never would have believed before that, but
Absolutely. It's energy
I
healing. Yeah.
I I had to experience it myself. That's the
Hmm.
I am always been a scientifically minded person.
Mm.
I need to see the proof of something before I will ever believe in it.
Yeah.
Much to my parents' dismay when I didn't want to go to church anymore because I didn't see the proof.
Yeah.
But
Well,
so I mean, it's just the way it is. I have to see the proof of anything, which the fact that anyone could call what you do black magic is laughable because
I know. I was just like,
it's it's literally in the title, scientific hand analysis. It's not
I
just
know.
like
I
if there's
know.
if there's if there's okay, well,
We
all
could
right,
go
well,
on and
okay.
on about that. Yeah.
I mean, I guess some science could be called black magic. Maybe. I don't know. Depends on your point of views in the world. But I don't believe any science is black magic because it's all proven studies that prove
Hmm.
these things work and they actually function the way they're supposed to function.
Yeah.
That's what science is. It's the scientific method. It literally scientific method just proves that any of this stuff is real. Like it's or not real, I should say. I mean, it's all real. Obviously, it's been proven. So I don't get people. I don't get people.
Yeah.
So, well, actually, okay. Since you're the first scientific hand analysis I've ever had on the show, or heard of actually, which I love, but something new. I love new things in this show. What I guess the question I want to ask is, what would be the most surprising analysis you ever done? Like, what would be the one that really like blew
Oh.
you away?
Oh shoot. Well, they don't blow me away. Um, it's like solving a mystery, every hand analysis. And I love it because I don't know most of the people that I work with,
Of
never
course.
seen them before, never met them, or maybe I've like they at a speaking engagement, they bought one or something, but that's it. And it still amazes me after hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of analysis that I have conducted and 12 years of doing this work. It still amazes me how the client goes in some way, how could you know that about me? And I'm saying it's in your hands. And, it just, you can tell by the look on their face. A lot of times women cry because they've never felt so seen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that you know everything, but when you hear it, some things but when you hear others, it resonates so much, it's right, even though you never thought about it before. So, I'm trying to think, like an example. A couple of weeks ago, I did an analysis for a woman, and she was telling her friend what I said, and the friend said she Googled you. I'm like, I'm not going to take time to do that. You know, I have no
No, I mean,
interest in doing that, and I have so much confidence in this work and its accuracy. Um, And today, a woman was talking about how she's been actively going after and being pulled into leadership positions, and leadership was part of her purpose. No surprise.
see, and I feel like there's more weight behind that than when like, because I've had mediums tell me this, psychics tell me that, and like, there's weight behind it, of course, a little bit of weight, but it's just like, how do you really know, or are
Yeah.
you just thinking of things, guessing things off the top of your head? But I mean, in my mind, it's scientific. They're actually looking at your handprint, or I mean,
Hmm.
do you ever actually touch people's hands, or is it just handprint always?
Oh, yeah, because like when I have a speaking engagement, I'll give whoever wants one um, a short mini, what I call MINI, a mini reading.
Go ahead, go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
A short mini reading. And so I look at the bare hand to do that, even though I do have a lit magnifying glass, but I don't do full analysis in person.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, I'm listening. I'm listening.
Yeah, I just said I don't do full analysis in person.
Oh, okay.
I'll do little mini readings, like when I meet somebody or have coffee with them or something. I'm happy to do that. It proves the accuracy, you know.
Yeah.
And I just mean
Well,
3 to 4 minutes. And I tell people, even with that short time, to record it on their phone because they're not going to remember everything I say.
of course, and I mean it's just, and it makes sense. I mean, because with if you can do it from a handprint rather than actually looking at a human hand, that just to me makes it more sincere. Because handprints, I mean, handprints don't lie. That's
No,
why
and you can
police.
see more in a handprint than you can in an actual hand.
Well, of course, because all the lines are truly accentuated.
Hmm.
Because I'm assuming it's the same as like when you get fingerprinted, is some kind of ink you have to use to really get it to show
Exactly.
everything.
Yep.
Which I'm sure that's fun to clean up afterwards, just like
Yeah.
fingerprinting.
Well, I've got it down where it takes 3 minutes to clean your hands afterwards. I mean, it's no big deal.
Oh, I don't know. I kind of want to have a hand analysis right now.
Well,
It's you piqued my curiosity. I will say that.
a lot
But
of my clients are podcast owners.
oh, I'm sure because we
Yeah.
hear we hear about these things and we're like, I want it done. I mean, I was supposed to have a past life regression done a year and a half ago. It never got done, and I'm still dying to get one done because it's like the just the curiosity of what would be said, what
Yeah.
would be come
Yeah.
up in all these things is
Yeah.
mind blowing, mind blowing. It really is.
Yeah.
So here's a question I just actually thought of that's kind of a little bit out of left field, but
Good.
kind of curious because
Get in.
I've been told by investigators and mediums and all this that some spirits do leave behind handprints.
Huh.
Could that possibly be used to help figure out who a person was?
Yeah. Now, I've
I mean,
also heard that fingerprints disappear after a while on a body. So if there's no fingerprints, then you can't get that information. And we get a lot of information from fingerprints. So, but yeah, anytime you can see a handprint in from any body or any spirit or whatever, there's information there.
interesting. I mean, I just saw that because I'm like, I've heard stories of like handprints being left on mirrors or on windows when people are investigating a haunted house or supposed haunted
Oh,
house,
yeah.
and it's like I wonder. I mean, are they just flat handprints with no actual markings because it's not the person's actual body, it's just their spirit. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't
I'm
it
guessing, but I don't know. I haven't seen one, a handprint from a spirit, so I don't know. By the way,
hmm
funny story. So and maybe this was the most unusual thing that I saw for this particular person. So, as you can imagine, engineers are my biggest critics, right? So, a woman bought one for herself and her husband was an engineer. And I'm doing the analysis, and I see a mark that means a lot of people who have this particular mark can be aware of people who have passed over, and some of them can see them and communicate with them. And that's the weirdest woo-woo mark in the hands. But anyway, it's called what is it? Shoot. Well, anyway. So I thought, yeah, I'm afraid to tell this guy that, because he's an engineer. I don't want him to freak out and hang up on me. But I'm like, it's in there, it's clear, it's a big one, and in hand analysis, size does matter. So I told him, I said, you've got this mark that says you have visions, you might have prophetic dreams, you might have very vivid dreams, and some people with this can even see people who have passed over. Silence. And I'm
he knew.
like, Charlie, silence. And I said, has that ever happened to you? And he said, real quiet. He goes, all the time. And nobody knows it, not even my wife. And I said, well, and then he told me the story about a house for sale in the neighborhood, and it wouldn't sell, and it wouldn't sell, and wouldn't sell. So they went and looked at it, and he went inside, and he said there were 200 spirits in that house. But nobody else could see him, but he could see him, but that's why the house wasn't selling. So, Anyway, that was pretty interesting. He didn't hang up on me, but he didn't want to have anything to do with that. And I said, it's like the movie Sixth Sense. They need your help, and they're going to keep showing up until you can help them, and I can refer you to a couple people who can help you learn how to do that. And he goes, I don't want to do it. And I said, well, then you're still going to see them because they need your help. Anyway, that was pretty good, interesting.
That is interesting. I mean, I guess that kind of does tie this to the paranormal in some aspect, at least, because I mean,
That
if
one
you,
mark. Yeah.
yeah, that one mark, I mean, it
Yeah.
would it would tell you a person is a medium or psychic or clairvoyant, clairaudient, how
Well,
whatever.
potential for it. The
I'm sorry,
potential for it.
potential for it.
Yeah.
I mean, technically they would be these things, but they just don't know it yet, and they haven't awakened it because they don't realize it, or they do realize it, and like this engineer, they're a little scared of it or a little paranoid of it, and they want to avoid it like the plague. So,
Well, and I will say there are a lot of intuitive marks. People are more
really,
intuitive than they realize.
hmm,
So this whole area of the hand is called the moon. And if you've got stuff in there, specific marks or a fingerprint, that means you've got intuition. Well, everybody does. So it's just a matter of how much it's been developed and how much you're aware of it.
interesting, and it makes you wonder what the hell mine would say because I've been told I had a medium on my show on Monday saying that my energy is crazy. Like she was commenting in the comments about it. She was like, "Your energy is crazy." She's like, "There are spirits all around you because your energy is just crazy. Like you attract things," and I'm like,
It's
"But I
possible.
can't." I'm like, I can somewhat tell that, but I can't really sense them or see them,
Yeah.
so I don't know for sure. It's just one of those things I've been told enough where I kind of believe it now, because why would these many people tell me the same thing if it
Right.
wasn't true?
Right.
And I'm like, there's not some major. I mean, I don't think there's any plot out there to try to mess with me that much. So it's just one of those things. It's like it has to be somewhat true. But thinking about it now, because I don't know if you've heard this term, but there's a term out there called star seeds, which are people who believe that they are not from this earth, or at least their
Oh,
spirit isn't,
I
and
haven't
they
heard
believe
that
there's
term, but I've been told
yeah
from somewhere else.
the,
Yeah.
they're people who believe their spirits are extraterrestrial spirits and they're just in human bodies because
Oh,
they believe that's how reincarnation works. They believe that's how
oh,
basically our whole basically how our whole spirit body system works is that we are a lot of us are extraterrestrial spirits that come from outer space or different dimensions, however you want to phrase it.
I've heard them called
And
walk-ins.
that's a new one to me. That's a new one to me. I'm not
Walk,
gonna
they
lie.
just walk into a body and sort of.
I mean, star seeds believe that the spirits came in at birth, like that, or before
Ah,
birth, even and that they believe they recycle in human bodies basically constantly. So
yeah.
I, but it makes you
Interesting.
wonder, like it makes you wonder if the hands as they develop would show any sign of this that they're not human
Mm,
spirits inside. Like,
I don't think so. At least not in this study. A palm reader
yeah,
might be able to pick up on something like that, but not.
maybe that's more past life derivative than actual like current life derivative.
I don't know. I don't know. Um,
Hmm. It was just a thought off the
yeah.
top of the head there, because
Yeah.
I
I like
mean,
the term starseed. Remember the movie Starman? You might not have been born yet. I don't know.
I wasn't born, but what's his name? I can't think of it now. Not Jeff
Isn't it?
Daniels, but
Was it Jeff
I
Bridges or
Jeff Bridges. Yes, Jeff
yeah?
Bridges. I knew. See, I said Jeff Daniels because I knew it was a Jeff, but yeah, Jeff Bridges. I just watched it a couple months ago, actually the first time because of
Really? I need to look it up.
for a
It's
podcast.
been years and
Yeah.
years. I just saw him in another movie the other night.
Oh,
Anyway.
he's been a lot of movies in his time,
Oh yeah.
but I mean, yeah, Starman's a good movie. I mean, I wouldn't say it's not one of my favorite extraterrestrial movies by any means, but it's got interesting concepts and interesting storyline behind it.
It
So,
does. Well, it's a long time ago, so they didn't have all the special effects and stuff that they do now.
mm, I wouldn't go blaming it all on that because you don't need a lot of older movies are great
Yeah.
without special effects. So, I mean,
Yes.
I think to me the storyline was just kind of lacking. The script was lacking a little. I mean,
Mm.
I mean, it's not bad. I've seen a lot worse movies from
I
that
don't
era than
remember the
that.
details enough to be able to comment about that. It's been so long since I've
I
seen
mean,
it.
it was it was a good movie. I'm not gonna lie, it was a good movie. Just I wouldn't say it was a great movie. It was a good movie. It
Yeah.
was definitely entertaining. It was definitely an entertaining movie. But so I guess the my next, well, I don't know. I'm kind of curious now. So do the signs that people have different based on where they're from originally? Like, do nationalities make a difference
Nope.
or races of any kind?
Nope.
No,
No,
so it's
not
just
a difference at
oh,
all. Unless there's a culture that has a generality of a characteristic. I'm trying to think of an example. I hate to do that because they're generalities and it's stereotyping, but that I have
yeah.
seen where, if a certain culture, and I don't even want to say, I don't want to,
Okay, okay. I'll put it this way. I'm Italian, so I can say this. So like Italians are supposed to be hard-headed. So like that would be
I
like a
didn't know that.
generality.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean we're Italians. We don't like taking
Well,
no for an answer.
there can be, and it's not a marking, it's how your thumb prints, um, that can indicate, um, I guess, hard-headedness. I mean,
Yeah, I mean or just stubbornness in general.
stubborn.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
And if your thumb is real tight and not real loose, it can be an indication of some stubbornness.
Okay. Yeah, that definitely would. I guess I'm pretty sure my wife would agree with that one too. So it works. It works. But oh, okay. Well, actually, I've been thinking. I've had this question in my mind like since we started, basically, and
Well, let's have it.
been trying to think of how to phrase it. So, is there a way to tell if a person is generally good or generally bad based on their handprints? Like, for example, could you tell that if you were reading, say, Jeffrey Dahmer's handprints, could
Right.
you tell that he was not a good person to begin with? That he had horrible motives in his mind already at a young age.
The answer is no, but remember, everything's potential. And as the analyst, if I don't know the person, I don't know where they are on this spectrum, right? And every marking has both a master path and a student path. And nobody can
Hmm.
be on the master path of any marking 100% of the time. So if there are a lot of markings that have extreme swings in behavior, then there would be more of a chance that that person could have some icky sides to them. But in general, the answer is no. I wouldn't be able to tell that.
Okay, I was kind of, I don't know. I was thinking kind of like a line along the lines of like a minority report type thing, where like, would there
Yeah.
be a way to ever use this for like predetermination of people that are going to do horrible things? But
No. And
no,
you're not the first person that's asked that question, Jeremy. So
I'm sure. I'm sure. But a lot of us, I mean, well, serial killers are a major fascinating topic that a lot of people love nowadays. So yeah, I'm sure I'm not the first person to think of that question, but it's
well, and I
just,
can think of political figures who, for
mm-hmm.
example, some of them have um, uh, something that indicates they can really be a bully and that they're just have a lot of capacity for power. And then the student path would be abusing the power,
Oh, kitty.
right?
Uh, but
So
I mean, that makes sense, and yeah, we won't get into the politics of the world, but
no,
I mean, yeah,
yeah.
there are certain people in Washington who I'm sure have that in their hands,
Mm.
but we'll put it that way for now. But I mean, so, but thinking is there any other part of the body that can be read like this, like the hand can? Like, is there really like any of our other part of our bodies like give signs like this?
Not like that. I mean, you can read ears, you can read personality in ears and faces, you can read health stuff in the eyes, but not the comprehensive, broad information and deep that a hand analysis can do. And people have asked me if I read feet, and I'm like, I think I'm going to stick with hands.
Yeah, I would feet even have the same, like, what a
I doubt
footprint?
it. I don't know. I haven't looked.
I mean, actually, I 100% doubt it because I've seen footprints, like people make footprints out of the same thing handprints are made of all the time, especially with like kids and babies and
Right,
whatnot, and
right.
there really is no elaborate markings in them. It's just
Yeah.
one solid print usually, so that wouldn't make sense if we're trying to read it. Like it just would be a solid print. You wouldn't be able to get anything out of it. So I guess it does actually line up perfectly, which. All right. So yeah, ears. I've heard of ears being read before. Like someone can feel your lobes, and okay, wrong ear to do that with. But people, and I don't know how much faith I have in the ear readings. I really don't. But
They can be pretty, I mean, they can be, but it's just not very deep, and it's just personality. So
hmm.
generalities in personality, and the face reading can be pretty accurate, but it also, you never know how much work somebody's done, to grow and change.
Yeah, we'll call that the Kardashian effect. But but well, I just had a freaking thing in my head, and what was I going to add? Oh yeah, great, right. So, are there any rarer things that can be read in finger and handprints that are like what are some of the more rare
Rare.
elements that can be that can be read in handprints, like not the common ones that you see in most, like that, like 1 in 5 people could have, but like the rare things that besides the one we already talked about with the
Yeah.
ability
Well,
to see the dead, like
that one is one of the more rare. There's things called gift markings, and that's one of the more rare gift markings. I read today. My client had a very unusual location for a fingerprint. So I mentioned that 75% of my clients have 1 or 2, maybe more fingerprints in their hands. But she had one. It's very rare to have one underneath your index finger. They're usually like here in between the middle finger and the ring finger, or here between the ring finger and the pinky. There's sometimes one, wait, I can't do this in the mirror, in that moon area that indicates you were born naturally intuitive. But that fingerprint, that was part of the leadership feedback that she got. And that, because it's such a rare print, that becomes part of her purpose. And by the way, that brings me to, so with hand analysis, there are hundreds of options for the core of your purpose. It's not like you get put in a 1 of 9 or 1 of 7 or 1 of 4. There are hundreds of options. There are some more common than others, but there's lots of options. So it is very, very specific to the person. But yeah, this is a very rare print. So that made leadership and power and influence part of her
hmm,
purpose.
interesting. Try and will our handprints tell us at all if we are, say, like, will they give us medical information at all, or?
A little tiny bit of health stuff. Um, like I can tell if somebody might have digestive issues, and one of the things we look for is what school you're in, which is sort of like if you were a computer, it's your operating system. So, it's the filter through which you experience life and make a lot of decisions. And one of those schools can cause some health issues, normally not big, hairy ones. But if you're in that school, you're going to have digestive issues or thyroid challenges or adrenal fatigue or autoimmune stuff. So if your lifeline is kind of fuzzy or, just not clean and crisp, then there's a little bit of health stuff going on. But I absolutely cannot determine anything serious Now, a break
you
in the lifeline could indicate that there had been something serious, but I don't know what it is. Could have
yeah.
been a divorce, could have been a death in the family, could have been a major illness.
So I mean, you can't diagnose cancer or something serious
Absolutely
by
not.
looking at
No.
no. Okay, which well, good to know for people out there listening to this, so they
Yeah,
don't go looking for this to try to figure out if they have
that's
cancer or
right.
something like that. But
That's
I mean,
right. I've had people ask me, "Well, when am I gonna meet Mr. Right?" And I'm like, "I have no idea, but I can tell you what to work on to make those chances better."
that was actually gonna, that was going to be my next question is, will it give you like any relationship information, whether it be familial or
Well, just
more
how
personal?
you well, the Heartline, um, is your relationship style, how you communicate in relationship, how you express love and affection, how you want love and affection expressed to you. So, and it's any kind of relationship, but like partners that both have a hand analysis, then you can understand the other person better in that relationship, and
Hmm.
meet their needs more effectively.
Might be a good Valentine's Day gift coming up. Just saying, folks. I,
Well, we're way past
I
Valentine's Day. Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking of myself here, but actually,
Mhm.
okay, yeah, Valentine's Day just passed. What the hell am I thinking?
Yeah.
But
Memorial Day or 4th of July, whatever.
hey, birthdays and anniversaries come up all the time,
There
so
you
you
go.
know.
Yeah.
But well, and I guess what I'll kind of end this with, in a way, is what do you find the most interesting about this profession? Like, it's your fate to do this, but I mean, it's not one of those fates where people are bored, or you seem like you're bored by it, or that it's not something you don't want to do. Like, what makes you want to do it on a daily basis?
No, I love it because it's so fulfilling. I mean, I'm helping people a lot. It's very meaningful and it gives them action to take, what to strive for and what to avoid and try to change and grow. And like I said, it's a little mystery every time. So it fascinates me. It just fascinates me. I love it. I'm so fulfilled with this work. It's just, I don't know, it's fun because it is so meaningful and interesting to find what I find.
Which I mean, I can imagine it would be. I mean,
Hmm.
and it's gotta be a project though. Like, I feel like every handprint would be like trying to put together a puzzle, and it'd be a fun project, I guess, if it's something you like doing. But I feel like it'd be a project. Like every handprint, like how long does it typically take you to read a whole handprint?
Well, I have to look at both hands, otherwise I
Well,
only
of
see
course.
half of you. But no, I've got so much experience now. 30 minutes or less.
Really? Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm not going to tell them everything. They don't need to know all the little shit. I mean, uh, just the important stuff, and it's just screaming out at me. So it's
Well,
easy for me to, and everybody gets a summary report and they get the recording of the analysis, and I've scanned in their prints. So I'm showing them on Zoom what marking I'm talking about and what it means. It's fun.
sounds really interesting. And just for the people out there that want to consider having this done, because for our listeners, Jayne might have something for you at the end of this episode. We'll find out in a few minutes. But what is the typical process like to get this done? Like, do you have to send them a kit to have them like do it the way you want it done, or
Sort of. I mean, it's a big white envelope, a 9 by 12, and it has instructions in there, which are very detailed for the instruction impaired. But it's easy. And what's also in the instructions is the link to a video to watch me doing it, and that helps a lot of people to see it being done. And then they mail their handprints back to me. I scan them in. I tell them they work, which they do 99% of the time. Every once in a while, I've had to have somebody redo them. And then they schedule 2 calls with me. One is for the analysis, and that's an hour. And it's recorded because, believe me, you cannot remember it all at all. And I'll say something and you'll start thinking about how it applies to your life, and I'm still talking, right? So, and that's why I offer a second 30-minute call. I think I'm the only one that does that I'm aware of, that I'm aware of. Those are the operative words. After you've watched the video, to answer questions and help you take action. What are best next steps with the information? So you get an hour and a half with me, and I've already put in 30 minutes and the materials and 5 years of study. And
well, there you go, folks. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, and you kind of get a little life coaching in there in that last 30 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. I mean,
yeah,
that's kind of like a lot.
yeah,
That's life coaching in a way. I mean,
yeah.
100% in my mind.
Could be life coaching, could be career coaching, depends on what's in their hands and what their questions are. I'll help however I can.
Exactly, which makes sense. And I mean, so why don't you tell people where, if they want to have these services done, where they can find you, how they can get in touch with you. And you said you had something you wanted to tell my listeners, so I'll let you do that now.
Yeah. And, one important point too is after all this experience, I really believe the only way to that deeper and more consistent joy and fulfillment that everybody wants is by living in alignment with your innate purpose. So somehow you need to figure out what that is. I mean, there's other ways to get your purpose, but I just do it this way and I know it works. Yes, I would like to offer $100 off my regular price. My price is about average for a master scientific hand analyst. And that's if somebody just goes to my website, it's $497. So for your listeners, I have a special price for them for $397. And to get a hold of me, my website is purposewhisperer.com, like horse whisperer, but purposewhisperer.com. And you can contact me through the website and tell me you heard me on Paranormal, the New Normal, and I will send you that special link for that price. It's the only way you can get it.
Well, there you go, folks. I mean, I hope you guys take advantage of it because you can find out what you're missing in your life and you can find out a better way to live your life. So that's everything. That's everything. We live in such hard times right now. Money's tight for everybody unless you're lucky or you work or you found a way to make money better than the rest of us, which hats off to you.
It doesn't mean you're happy.
Truly doesn't. Truly doesn't. Money does not buy happiness. It can't.
It gives you freedom.
It does, because I mean, I've had money in the past before I was married and had kids, but I had money in the past when I was a single man, and it doesn't buy happiness. I mean, you could still be miserable and have money.
Nope.
Doesn't. You could buy things to try to drown everything that's not happiness, but it doesn't make you happy. So
I think fulfillment is the key. I mean, when we're fulfilled or not fulfilled, I mean, it just feels happy, just like, why am I here? It's like spinning your wheels. It just is not a good feeling. Feeling
it's
lost.
not. I mean, it's true. I mean, if you work a job where you don't feel like you're fulfilling a purpose of any kind, where you just feel like you're clocking in, clocking out every day, and you're dying to clock out for hours, that's not the job for you.
Sad.
Which, I mean, yes, even if you're working the job you're meant to work, that still can be a feeling some days, but if it happens on a daily basis, you need to find something like this to help you find your true purpose. I 100% believe in that, and it makes sense to me. It really does. I mean, and my Italian side showing up, talking with my hands here. But of course, Jayne's link will be in the podcast description for all my listeners, so you can just click and go. And please, make sure to tell her you saw on Paranormal, the New Normal, so that you can get the $100 discount, because these days, $100 is $100. Come on now.
Yeah, I'd be honored.
And these days, $5 is $5, so come on. That's a deal and a half. So
a woman dropped a bill at the gas station the other day, and I'm like, "You dropped $1," and she goes, "Oh well, somebody needs it more than me." And I'm like, "Yeah, me. I'll go get it." So I did.
Exactly. I mean, if I see money in the floor in a grocery store, I'm picking it up and looking around like, anybody drop this?
Right.
No, okay, it's mine now. Thank you. Things happen for a reason. But thank you, Jayne, for coming on. It's been an enlightening hour here, and I'm happy to finally get a subject I haven't touched on before. It's a rare thing nowadays, 200 episodes in, to get
Yeah,
professionals who I haven't talked to before. But
cool.
it's and I got to learn about something new, and it's science, and I love science. I mean, paranormal's great. I love paranormal more than anything in this world, but science is science. I can prove it, and that's
Yeah.
I. No one can come back to me and say, "Oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about." Really? Did you study something for 5 years? No. So shut your mouth.
Yeah.
But
Well, this has been great, Jeremy. I really appreciate you having me on, and it's been a real engaging for me and fun conversation. So thank you for that.
not a problem. And to all my listeners and well watchers, you got the thing in the bottom, the banner on the bottom to tell you where I could be found. But for all my listeners, you know where you can find me. If you don't, get your palm read because you might find out where you can find me. But and if you want to know where you can find me, check the outro. Because if you don't know by now, just I say it every episode, but shame, shame! It's been 200 something episodes. You should be following me and everything by now. You know I'm entertaining. I know my that's one thing my hand will probably show is my ego is freaking big as could be. But uh, until next time, folks, have a good night. And one final time, thank you for coming on, Jayne. It's been an honor.
My pleasure. Thank you, Jeremy.
Have a good night, everybody.